Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new Q&A. Normally, I would do a bit of an intro, talk about some of the recent events related to Warcraft, but unfortunately there really isn't much going on in the game. We got flying, I suppose, we got time walking, there's Merc mode now, but to be fair, I'm not playing a lot of World of Warcraft right now. I am, of course, still subscribed, I am still recording the backgrounds and the storylines for you guys to tell the stories, but for the game itself, I'm just waiting for Legion to be released. As we wait for Legion, I've been receiving a lot of questions about the upcoming expansion, so I figured it'd be best to dedicate a full Q&A to it and answer the most frequently asked questions. That said, if you're desperately avoiding spoilers for Legion, then this Q&A is probably not for you. Let me just say thank you very much for watching, and please turn off the video right now. Right, so to start it all off, a lot of you have been asking me if certain scenarios are possible. Will Sylvanas die? Will the Alliance take Kil'jaeden? Will Bolvar 4 Dragon join us? Will we see more of Rexxar? Will we see the flying spaghetti monster? And as much as I would love to give a clear answer to it all, I simply don't know. I've made some lucky guesses in the past. Sometimes with the information given we can speculate and predict a little bit, but I know as much as you know, so sadly I can't give any solid answers. The simple answer that I can give is that time will tell what the expansion is going to bring. Now that said, it is fun to speculate of course, so the first question, to get a little bit of speculation out of the way: who is going to be the end boss for Legion? What we know right now is that we're going to see a team up of Burning Legion together with the Old Gods. This is something that we've never seen before, and in my opinion, probably the most exciting thing to happen in the story. We always knew that the Old Gods knew about Sargeras and the Legion. They tried to use Sargeras entering Azeroth to break out of their prisons, but we never knew for certain if the Legion knew about the Old Gods. By the time that the Pantheon arrived on Azeroth and started shaping the world and started to battle with the Old Gods, Sargeras had already left the Pantheon behind. But some way, somehow, they're now informed about each other and they're working together. It could be that Queen Azshara is the one that brought both sides together, who knows, but these are the two major forces for Legion. We'll see most likely N'Zoth for Team Old God. There are more Old Gods out there, but N'Zoth is very much connected to the Emerald Nightmare, very much connected to Azshara, and then there is Sargeras for Team Burning Legion, but I personally hope that neither one of those will be the actual end boss. Trace back any story in Warcraft and you end up either at the Titans, the Old Gods, or Sargeras and the Burning Legion at its source. Completely taking care of Sargeras would remove a big part of the storyline, would remove a big part of the Burning Legion. Now some suggest that the avatar of Sargeras could be a really cool fight, and I have to agree. The Guardian H-Win, way back when, she's battled with this avatar before, and even though it's not the fully powered Sargeras, it would still make for one hell of a fight. The only thing that we know about that has ever damaged the Titan Sargeras was the Axe of Cenarius in the hands of Broxigar. Now that we're all getting these artifacts, these legendary weapons of power, perhaps they're getting us ready to fight against the avatar, or perhaps we'll make an heroic leap into the Twisty Nether to hold Sargeras off as our rest of the forces are trying to close the portal. Either way, I think that would be really cool. Anything except for Sargeras in his full glory, I'd be down with as a Burning Legion end boss. Now, if we're gonna go with the Old God route, N'Zoth could show up similar to how we faced the other Old Gods. We've never truly faced an Old God in all its glory and power. We just pushed their physical manifestations back into their prisons. This is why the Keepers remain behind to keep Yogg-Saron imprisoned. This is why C'Thun was still able to whisper to Madan. And the only Old God that seems to be truly taken care of is the Old God Y'Shaarj. Y'Shaarj was struck down by the Titans, and as they struck him down, he did his final breath attack and disinfected the land of Pandaria with the Shah. They then took his heart, they placed it under protection in a container. Garrosh found the heart, he revitalized it with the waters from Pandaria, and then he absorbed the powers. We kicked the crap out of Garrosh, and apparently Y'Shaarj is completely taken care of. That is the big problem when you take care of the Old Gods. This is probably why the Titans realized that they couldn't just simply kill the Old Gods, because as they struck down Y'Shaarj, he infected the land. Imagine if that would happen all over Azeroth, the planet would simply be destroyed. So N'Zoth and Sargeras, these are the two options for end bosses which seem most likely to me. Like I said, I'm hoping not the full powered versions, just an avatar or maybe the manifestation. Now Queen Azshara is also going to play her part in the expansion, but I personally hope that she survives. Some suggest that a fully powered Kil'jaeden could also be an option, and I think it would be a great challenge. Last time that we fought with Kil'jaeden was in the Sunwell. He was half stuck in a portal, wasn't at his full power, so a fully powered Kil'jaeden could really be cool. Perhaps it would be better to save Kil'jaeden for the future though. Considering that we just took on Archimonde, it would be a little bit similar. And like Azora, I hope that they'll save Kil'jaeden for the future, because there are still plenty of stories left to tell, which they could use such an uber boss like Kil'jaeden or such a powerful queen like Azora. Their roles would be perfect for those storylines. Speaking of the future, the next question is, Legion seems to be doing a whole lot of things at the same time. Does this mean that it's going to be the last expansion? Blizzard can decide to pull the plug at any time, so each expansion that we get, that can be the last expansion, including Legion. We know that they've said that they're planning the next expansion, but planning something isn't the same as actually making one, so who knows if Legion is or isn't going to be the last one. Now if you look at the storylines, right, Legion is planning to tell a lot of stories at the same time, but it doesn't mean that it's the last one. If you're wondering like what stories are left to tell after Legion, well, from the top of my head, perhaps Queen Azora will survive and we'll get the speculated Dark Prophet expansion. This is the Kaltaras, the different islands, the Prophet Zul, King Rastakhan, Queen Azora, Neptulon, Trolls. Still plenty of stories left to tell on Azeroth, on an area that we've never explored. Perhaps after taking care of the Legion on Azeroth, after seeing our world nearly destroyed, we decide that it's time to take the battle to the Legion itself. We'll go into the Great Dark Beyond, we might take a portal, we might find some way to get there, and we'll explore completely new planets and cultures. We'll take the battle to the Burning Legion, and we'll deal with the fully powered Kil'jaeden, the armies of the Legion, anything and everything that's going on in the Great Dark Beyond. Perhaps they'll even invent a threat behind the Legion. Right now, the storyline behind Sargeras' corruption is that he was corrupted by the darkness in the universe. It wasn't necessarily a being or a source. It was more that Sargeras realized that the Titans' plan was folly. He realized that the universe was fighting back against the plan of order, and he realized that if the universe is fighting back so much, perhaps order is not the way to go. That right now is the storyline that corrupted Sargeras. It's been retconned before. In the past, I believe it was the Erdar that corrupted Sargeras. So why not add a whole new source to that? Why not have a specific source powerful enough to corrupt a Titan? That would make a great threat, would make a whole new pillar in the Warcraft lore, and they could build upon that for many more expansions to come. Now these are just storylines that are connected to what we're doing, but if you look at Mr. Pandaria or even Warlords of Draenor, these expansions seem to come out of nowhere. Mr. Pandaria was based on very little established story. We had a few Pandarans during Warcraft 3, and they took that concept and they created a massive story out of it. Warlords of Draenor was based on a previously established story with the whole Horde formation, Gul'dan, the Burning Legion. They gave it its own spin with an alternate reality tossed in there, and that also became an expansion. The point is that they can create and imagine whatever they want. So Legion, if you look at the story and what we're going to do, it absolutely does not have to be the last one. So in short, it can be the last one. Any expansion can be the last one. Story-wise, they can keep on going as long as they want. Which brings me to my final question already for today, but it's a very big one, which is, what locations for the class-specific order halls could they use and who might become our followers? Keep in mind that the possibilities are nearly endless, so I won't be able to mention every single possibilities. Some locations are already confirmed by Blizzard, or at least, they told us what they're planning, but some are completely up for speculation. Here are some of my suggestions. For Paladins, they said that they're going to get the hidden Templar Sanctum beneath Light's Hope Chapel. This is probably the best location in my opinion. Alternatively, they could have gone with the Alonsus Chapel in Stratholme, since that's where the Paladins of the Silver Hand originate from, but again, a great neutral choice. Possible followers, Lady Liadrin and Sunwalker Desko. Ural, in my opinion, would have made a great choice, but it's already been said that the alternate characters, they stay on alternate Draenor, so they won't be joining us on Azeroth. Tyrion Fordring is going to hand over the Ashbringer as an artifact, so he's most likely to either fall into despair or to kick the bucket, which doesn't make for a great follower, but it's still a possibility. There's a rumor going around that they're thinking about the Dalaran sewers for the rogues, but in my opinion, Ravenhold Manor would be a way better choice. This has been the headquarters for the Ravenhold Guild, a guild of thieves and assassins, while later on it was used to place Rephion in, as Rephion was giving rogues their legendary questline. I can't imagine why they wouldn't use this area, but perhaps there's a really good reason for it. Now for the possible followers, we have Valera Sanguinar, Corona Half-Orcan, and Matthias Shaw. People jokingly say that you don't really know about good rogues out there because they stay in the shadows, but these assassins are probably the most badass rogues out there. Shamans are planned to go near the Maelstrom, where the elements come together. This place looks beautiful, it's very interactive, which makes for a great location. Alternatively, they could have gone for the Throne of Elements in the Grand, but the Maelstrom is just beautiful. Possible followers: Nobundo, first of the Draenei to ever become a shaman, and Rhaegar Earthfury, former slave handler and now advisor to Thrall and member of the Earthen Ring. Pretty much any member of this organization, any member of the Earthen Ring could be picked as another follower, but really known shamans in the story, well, you know, if you think about shamans, you think about Thrall, but Thrall falls in the same boat as Tyrion. As in, we are apparently getting the Doomhammer, so Thrall, he could die, he could fall into despair, which doesn't make for the best follower. It's not impossible though, and for those that have been asking, I wanted to talk about the artifacts in this Q&A, but unfortunately I don't have the time. A lot of people have suggested that the Doomhammer that we're picking up is the Doomhammer from alternate Draenor. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but the image that they showed of the Doomhammer, it has the Frostwolf symbol on it, and the Doomhammer from alternate Draenor shouldn't have that symbol on it. Thrall was the one who placed it on the weapon, so you could add the Frostwolf symbol later. That's always a possibility, but I have a feeling that we'll actually get Thrall's weapon. Time will tell though. Now, it's not impossible to get Thrall as a follower, it just seems unlikely to me, but perhaps his mate Agra will support us. And although Drekvar in our reality is a blind old orc, which I don't really see going on field trips or explore caves or whatnot, alternate Drekvar would be a great pick. That is, of course, if they reverse the decision of leaving the alternates on Draenor. Warlocks are said to be placed on a burning Legion world, which only Warlocks can travel to. It's uncertain what planet this will be, but I'd say that Zorov, the planet where the Dreadseeds come from, that could be really awesome. Possible followers? For one, Jubeka Shadowbreaker, the one that joins you during the Greenfire questline. She's a member of the Council of the Black Harvest, so any other member of the Council could also be a good pick. But she at least already has an in-game model, which seems to be most likely a Warlock follower. As I was researching this, I found out that Metal Fellstorm is also classified as a Warlock, and he played a huge part in not only the first Guardian storyline, but also the last Guardian storyline, also known as Medan. This guy was so powerful with his magic that he was able to resurrect himself. He has a demon inside of him, Kavrenatir, so seeing him as a Warlock follower would just be brilliant. Hunters are going to get a location somewhere in the peaks of High Mountain, and High Mountain is a new area added in Legion. Hemet Nestingwary is also going to be in that area, so it's a good location in my opinion. I would have suggested one of the camps with Nestingwary in it, even though a lot of hunters apparently don't like Hemet. I think if you're looking at the storyline, like what represents a hunter, Hemet comes very close to it, so High Mountain could be a very cool location. Possible followers. First one that comes to mind is Rexxar, of course. I can't imagine anyone being upset about Rexxar being one of the followers. You have Halduran Brightwing, who's the Ranger General of Silvermoon, which is, you know, it takes quite a lot of skills to get that title. Navanos Blightcaller, who was part of the questline during Classic, where the Alliance took him out, and then later he came back. Navanos, he is undead, but also classified as a hunter, could be really cool. And then there is Chandris Pheromoon. All of these characters have played their part during Warcraft, and although I wouldn't necessarily call Chandris a hunter in the general sense, since she is skilled with many weapons and she is the general of the Night Elf Sentinels, she is pretty damn good with a bow. The final hunter that I would love to see show up is Tyrafan, and for those who are like, who the hell is Tyrafan? Tyrafan's only role in the story so far has been during the novel Vol'jin, Shadows of the Horde, in which he assisted Vol'jin in his storyline. He nearly died at the end of the book, but Vol'jin, he called upon Bwonsamdi. Bwonsamdi returned Tyrafan's spirits, and Tyrafan came back to life. He's a very skilled hunter, you have to be, when you're keeping up with someone like Vol'jin, and I would love to see him get an in-game model. Now we get to the part where we don't really know what Blizzard is planning to do. There hasn't been any information released yet, so these are just my suggestions. Keep that in mind. Icarus has shown up on a map for Legion, so it's very possible that the Death Knights will simply keep their starting area as their class order hall. Alternatively, I'd say that the Shadow Vault in Icecrown could also be a beautiful location, but who knows. Possible followers? High Lord Darien Mograine, of course. You can't really go without Darien. Visarion, maybe even Koltra Deathweaver, although the last that we saw of Koltra was when Sylvanas took him into the Undercity. It could make for a great quest to team up with Visarion. We're gonna go into the Undercity, get Koltra out of there, and then we turn him into a follower, as well as finally doing something with that storyline that's been left open ever since the Cataclysm. Monks could simply get the Peak of Serenity area that they can already teleport to. It's right next to the Shadowpen Monastery, which is probably the most monkiest place in the game. Possible followers: Chen Stormstout, Lily Stormstout, Taranzu, and any of the Shadowpen warriors that we did our daily quest with during Mist of Pandaria. Say that we count the possibility of spirits showing up, then the very first of the Pandaren monks, Kang, Fist of the First Dawn, he would be great. G and Isa are also known monks, but they fall under the faction leader category, as in people like Vol'jin or Varian or Velen. I don't see them using these faction leaders as followers for the classes. I just don't see it happening. If rogues get the sewers of Dalaran, then perhaps the mages should get the city itself. Alternatively, the Tower of Karazhan would be freaking amazing as a location, or somewhere in the Tirisfal Glades, where the first Council of Tirisfal was formed. Possible followers: I'd say that right now Khadgar and Jaina, they're probably the most well-known characters when it comes to the mages, but Khadgar, he's probably busy with fighting against the Legion, while Jaina seems to be pissed off and is probably not willing to work with the Horde. That leaves characters like Romaf and Eva Sunreaver. Millhouse Manastorm would be hilarious, Archmage Vargov, and perhaps even Modera, although I expect not a lot of people to know about Modera. She's a member of the Council of Six, the ruling Council of Dalaran, so she's a very powerful mage. She has been mentioned in the story here and there, but she hasn't really been given a prominent role in the lore. Perhaps as a role as a follower, that might be better. Demon Hunters, the new hero class. Now that's a tricky one to place. We know that Illidan is going to send them on a super secret special mission to the planet created by Sargeras to first imprison the bad guys of the universe, and later he came back, he shattered the prison, and he formed the Burning Legion. That planet could make for one hell of an order hall. Can you imagine just the twisted nether in the background, flying demons here and there? It could be beautiful. Although alternatively, the Black Temple could also be a great place. Possible followers: as much as I would love to have Illidan chill in the Order Hall, I think he's going to be too busy with playing his part in the storyline. That leaves us with the Demon Hunters we already know about, and unfortunately they're pretty rare. Most of them been killed by us during Quest in the Burning Crusade, so we don't have that many to pick from. The ones that we do have is Altruis the Sufferer. He was found in a grant, he deflected from the Illidari since he decided that Illidan had become the very thing that he was sworn to fight. He gave us quests to take out other demon hunters, but perhaps, times change, perhaps he's now willing to work with us. Ferana's Sin Dweller was added during the Cataclysm, as he shows players that Illidan wasn't all that bad. He shows bits and pieces of his master's history, and then he helps us by taking out a few of the demons, disguising themselves as druids. Now, not counting any spirits that might show up or resurrected old demon hunters, these are the two most well-known demon hunters out there, but as always, Blizzard can always add more. I can't imagine for the players to be the only demon hunters that are gonna show up. We'll probably see a few in the starting area. There are probably gonna be many more. The Druids already have a location that they can teleport to, the Moonglade, so if they upgrade the area a little bit, make it a little bit more shiny and more beautiful, that could make for a perfect Order Hall location. Alternatively, I'd say that a location somewhere within the Emerald Dream would make for a perfect spot for the Druids to meet up, hang out. Of course, you'll have to find an area uncorrupted by the Emerald Nightmare, but the Emerald Dream could be amazing. Possible followers: Hamul Runetotem and Brol Bearmantle. These are probably the most well-known Archdruids in the story, besides Malfurion of course, but Malfurion, he's a faction leader, which means that I don't see them using him as a follower. It would be amazing in my opinion if they remember the troll Zenkiki and that he would show up as a follower. For those that have never done the questline before, we helped the Cenarian Circle by training Zenkiki, and he just messes up everything, right? He goes into seal form on land, he pulls the wrong things, he does the Moonfire spam. It was hilarious, and I would love to see him show up again. Other than that, pretty much anyone from the Cenarian Circle would be a valid candidate, and perhaps we'll even see more of the godlike creatures. Perhaps something like Remulus, I think he's called, or some of the green dragons. The possibilities are nearly endless. Warriors. Now, where do you place the warriors? In the arena, of course. I'd say that the Ring of Valor, the arena in Orgrimmar, would be perfect, since this is the place where Garrosh challenged Thrall to Mak'gora for the first time. This is where Garrosh had his little trial for New Pandaren to see if they were worthy of his horde. And this is where Garrosh took Cairn's life. This arena, in my opinion, would be the best out of all the arenas, but unfortunately it's placed in Orgrimmar, which makes it a little bit difficult for Alliance players to get to. There are more arenas out there in the world though. We've got Dire Maul Arena, Ring of Blood in the Grand, we got the Theater of Anguish in Zuldrak, the Crucible of Carnage in Twilight Highlands, Ring of Trials in Alternate Nagrand. There are plenty of arenas for warriors to hang out. Possible followers, Varrock Saurfang, Eitric and Nazgrel, they're probably the most well-known Orcish warriors, legends amongst their people. Dan of Trollbane, although very old, he is a very skilled fighter, and so far all they did was place him in Outland during the Burning Crusade, and he hasn't really done much. He was able to take out Kil'jaeden Deadeye. He was a skilled fighter for sure, so having him as a follower could be awesome. Then finally, as a possibility, Muradin Bronzebeard. He was able to teach Arthas some very important fighting skills, which Arthas used to become the Lich King, so seeing him show up would be awesome as well. Now there are a lot of warriors in the storyline, so the list is pretty big, but these would be my picks. Then, the last class that we can talk about is the Priest, and finding a location for the Priest is pretty damn difficult. When I think of Priest, I think of the light of course, so something in the direction of the Naru, maybe even the Exodar or the Stormwind Cathedral. Those would be the first locations that come to my mind, but neither one of those are very friendly locations for the Horde. I've heard a few people suggest Scholomance, and although Scholomance is an awesome location, it's more about necromancy and not so much about the light. One spot that's been suggested, and it seems perfect in my mind, is the Scarlet Monastery. This place, lore-wise, should be pretty much cleared out, since Lillian Voss went in there with adventurers, they killed the Scarlet Crusaders, and can you imagine having the monastery as your location? It's freaking beautiful with the fountains and just the whole area, so for the Priest, I suggest this location. For the possible followers, as I said, the location is hard to pick, but so are the followers, because there aren't that many well-known priests anymore. We have Velen, Troana and Anduin, but all of those fall in the category of faction leaders, or in Anduin's case, as much as might scare all of you, a future faction leader, so I don't think that they'll become followers. A possibility would be Ishana, the leader of the Aldors from the Burning Crusade, if you remember getting Reputation back then. She later showed up in the novel Wolfheart assisting Velen, so she could be a pick. There's also a troll priest called Zabra Hex, and he only showed up during the Ashbringer comics as he helped Darien on his journey to save his father's soul. Darien met with Zabra near the Scarlet Monastery, where the troll spent his time reading in the library, finding his way to the light, and considering that the Scarlet Monastery is possibly the best location for priests, I think this follower would fit perfectly. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to possible locations, possible followers, and even the artifact weapons, the possibilities are nearly endless, which makes it, in my opinion, very exciting. I could go on for hours talking about possible locations, possible followers, possible artifacts. Like I said, the list is nearly endless. I was actually planning to talk a little bit about the artifacts in this Q&A, but I guess I'll save that for a future Q&A, since we've been going on for long enough. Here's my question for you guys and girls though. If you were the one to decide, it can be for your class or for any old class, whatever you want to do, pick one for a Order Hall location, one follower and one artifact. Which ones would you like to see in the game? Just pick one of them, like 1, 2, 3, leave a comment down below, and I can't wait to read what things I haven't mentioned yet or things I simply forgot about. If you have questions that you'd like to see featured in an upcoming Q&A, then by all means leave them down below in the comments or send them in over at ask.fm and I might use them in the next video. As always, thank you very much for watching everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya!